League of Legends is one of those games where you never stop improving. There's always a part of your game you can refine, or a tiny interaction between champions you didn't know about before. I have asked artificial intelligence to help give me a training program to transform me from a complete beginner to an impressive player that doesn't embarrass himself all the time. I am very skeptical of this working, but I am desperate to try anything at the moment, as my friends always make fun of how bad I am. Hi AI, can you please provide me with a training guide to get better at League of Legends? I am so tired of losing all the time.
Sure thing. Dedicate yourself to one role. Yes, it's important to have knowledge of all roles, but everyone will always have a preference. If you haven't already, choose a preferred role as your main, and your results in ranked will improve drastically. By focusing on one role, you'll develop a deeper understanding of its intricacies much more quickly. You'll know what champions you're most comfortable on, their good and bad matchups, and how you can best to help your team. It's why one-trick ponies who only play one champion regularly end up climbing to pretty high ranks. By mastering a character and a role to the point where it becomes second nature, you can then start focusing on the wider game of LoL as a whole and play much smarter. Middle lane and support are the most beginner-friendly positions to start off with. Support is the most beginner-friendly, however, if you want to impress your friends, I suggest you play mid. Supports are often blamed for everything. Good options for middle lane are middle lane, Annie, Lux, Ahri. 2. Perfect your champion pool. Once you've chosen your role, it's time to find your favorite champions. Don't be a meta slave who only plays whatever has the highest win rate each week. Find champions that you actually enjoy playing and perform well with. If you're having fun, not only will you be more invested in improving, but you'll also probably play more games, which will also help your development. Always focus on objectives. It's the hardest lesson to learn in LoL, and we're all guilty of it. But kills aren't everything. Random kills will only get you a tiny bit of gold. When you get kills and how you react afterwards is much more important. Objectives really are where LoL games are won or lost, so use your bloodlust for good. Everything you do should be with objectives in mind. Let's set expectations. If you watch pro LoL matches, you'll notice that players regularly reach 10 CS a minute, but that just isn't realistic for 90% of players, and that's okay. There's a lot of factors that go into getting good farm. Practicing last hitting in the practice tool is a great place to start, but it's much harder once you also have to trade with a lane opponent. So in the early game, it's all about the matchup. If your opponent is stronger early, then stay safe and maybe use more abilities to farm from afar. Dying will cost you a lot of CS, so staying alive, letting your opponents push, and setting up your jungler for a gank is your best bet. Otherwise, try to pressure your opponent when they try to farm. If they're last hitting with autos, watch your own minions' health, and once they're low, you can step forward and hit your opponent for free, knowing that they're locked into their auto animation and can't trade back. In the mid to late game, make sure you're still always farming. You should never be doing nothing. Instead of pointlessly grouping mid, find a side lane where the wave is pushing into your half of the map and go collect it on your own, as long as you're safe to do so. Other than when needing to set up for epic monsters or trying to siege, you should always be farming waves or jungle camps to keep leveling up. Just make sure you don't push too far and become vulnerable to a gank. Walk where you have vision and teammates nearby. If you cross into the opponent's half without deep wards, you're going to get killed and miss out on more CS than you gained in the first place. And also make sure you communicate with your team and don't miss a big fight. Become a laning phase monster. Laning is an art form. To boss the early game, these are the main things you should focus on. Learn your matchups. This one will take some personal research and experimentation. Every champion has counterpicks, so it's crucial you understand your champion's strengths and weaknesses, and know how to play around both. Level 2 and other trading advantages. It's so easy to forget in the heat of the moment, but rather than focusing on mechanically outplaying your opponent, just be smarter. At the start of the game, hitting level 2 first is a ginormous advantage. As soon as you hit level 2, you should look to heavily trade with your opponent, because they can't respond. And it's similar for level. Keep an eye on your XP bar and walk forward before you hit level 2, so you can start your lane perfectly. You can count minions to know when this will happen too. In top and mid lane, the first wave and 1 melee minion, so 7 minions total, is enough to level up. In the bottom lane, it takes 9 minion with the first wave, plus 3 more melee minions from the second wave. Otherwise, you can easily win a lane battle by not wasting your abilities. If you watch your opponent miss their main form of CC or waste it farming, you can confidently trade, knowing you should have an advantage. And watch for if your opponent is low on mana because they might just forget. Master wave management. You can beat your opponents without them realizing. Wave management is incredibly powerful. It will allow you to farm much easier and control the lane to your will. Stick with us, this is difficult, but there are 3 crucial concepts you need to understand. Crashing, slow pushing, and freezing. Crashing. This is when a wave of minions reach a tower. Of course, this is good if you want to siege a tower, but actually it's best used as a defensive tool. You see, your minion wave will bounce back from the enemy turret to your own tower. So, if you crash a wave and then immediately recall, by the time you return to lane, the enemy wave will be in front of your tower ready for you to farm safely. This means you can back without worrying about losing any farm. Slow pushing. This is the act of building up as big a wave as possible to make your crash more effective. The more minions you send into a turret, the more time you have to recall or roam out of the lane and help your team in a fight or at an objective. For this to happen, wait until after a cannon wave and then keep the enemy melee minions alive as long as possible, but take out 1 or 2 caster minions. That 1 minion difference means your wave will push but slowly, and your own wave will take less damage while doing so. Only last hit and eventually your 2 waves should combine, at which point you can push faster if the minions are about to reach the enemy tower. The tempo you gain from forcing your opponent to deal with such a wave can be a really big, albeit subtle difference. Freezing. This is the act of holding a wave of minions in one spot that's unfavorable for your opponent. Typically, this is just in front of your tower, but crucially, outside of tower range. You don't want the wave to crash. This can be hugely advantageous when you're winning the lane, as your opponent will be forced to overextend a farm, meaning they barely get resources or they step forward and risk being harassed out of lane or ganked. Freezing is a complicated technique, but the main thing is simply only attack to last hit at the last possible second. You also need to match any damage that your opponent deals to your minions, so that neither wave grows stronger than the other. Executed correctly, this can be extremely punishing for your opponent. You can even freeze when you're behind so you can safely farm, but this is very difficult to pull off. Improve your team fight decision making. Yet another aspect of LoL is that you don't need to become a mechanical god to improve. There are a ton of ways you can boost your skirmishing. For starters, try to chain your CC. When one of your teammates lands crowd control on someone, try to layer it so that your own CC hits the same target just before they can move again, so you can keep them locked down for longer. On top of that, figure out how both your champion and your team comp wants to fight. If you have a big beefy tank and a really fed ADC, you should use the classic strategy of fighting front to back. Put your tankier members at the front and have them block the enemy from getting to your valuable squishy team members at the back. From there, it's up to you if you use CC to peel for your fed teammate, or try to lock down the opponent's biggest threat. However, you don't always have to go all in for their strongest player. Taking the easy kill, say on a squishy support, can be just as effective as you can create a number advantage without committing too much. Just be very careful and intentional with your ultimates and other powerful abilities. Waiting for the perfect moment could just flip the fight on its head.
Thank you so much, AI, for all those tips. I am now going to show you gameplay highlights of how I performed before hearing AI's advice. It was a complete disaster. Apologies in advance. I will then show you a game taking in all AI's advice.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Ace. Has destroyed a turret. A summoner has disconnected.
I think that went great, and that was a very... Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider sharing it with your friends who love League of Legends AI experiments. Subscribe for more content like this, and let me know what you thought in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.